They told you to be kind. They told you to open your heart. They told you that vulnerability was power, and you believed them. You let their words seep into you like sweet honey, comforting, sticky, impossible to wash off. You thought kindness would protect you. You thought openness would win people's respect. You thought being soft would make you loved. But what did it really bring you? Disappointment, betrayal. Hands you stretched out in trust were bitten. Every time you gave more of yourself, they took more, and thanked you with silence or worse, with scorn. The world does not reward softness. The world sharpens its claws on the gentle. And if you look honestly at your life, hasn't that been true? Your goodness became their leverage. Your patience became their weapon. Your trust became their hunting ground. This is the first truth Machiavelli whispers in your ear. The world is not ruled by kindness, but by power. And until you face this, until you allow this truth to pierce through the lies you've swallowed, you will remain broken, unprepared, and easy to manipulate. Think back to the last time you felt crushed, the last time someone betrayed your trust, ignored your loyalty, or took advantage of your silence. Didn't it feel like a part of you died? Like your old self, the one that trusted too easily, gave too quickly, forgave too often, finally collapsed under the weight of reality? That death wasn't a tragedy. That death was a rebirth, because only when the naive self dies can the strategist be born. This is where rebuilding begins, not with motivation, not with affirmations, not with empty promises to be stronger next time, but with a cold decision, the decision to never again approach life as prey, the decision to rebuild yourself piece by piece as something harder, sharper, untouchable. And here is the paradox. The pain you felt, the betrayal, the heartbreak, the humiliation, is not your weakness. It is your blueprint. It shows you exactly where your defenses were broken, where your armor was missing, where your strategy was flawed. Your wounds are your map. Your suffering is your teacher. So in this first stage of the Machiavellian rebirth, you must look directly at your pain without flinching. You must examine the wreckage of your old self with ruthless honesty. Ask yourself, where did I let emotions cloud my judgment? Where did I believe the lie of kindness over the reality of power? Where did I extend loyalty to those who had no intention of returning it? Where did I confuse weakness for virtue? Because this is not about hating others. It's about seeing clearly. It's about looking at the battlefield of your life and admitting, I lost because I was unarmed. But you are not condemned to stay that way. You can rebuild. You can rise from the ashes of your old self. You can forge a new identity, one that no longer bends, no longer begs, no longer bleeds at the first strike. This is where Machiavelli becomes your guide, not as a saint, not as a motivational speaker, but as a strategist, a ruthless tactician of the human condition who tells you the raw truth. Power respects power. Control respects control. The world bends to those who bend themselves into something unbreakable. So here is your first exercise in rebuilding. Sit with your pain. Don't numb it. Don't run from it. Don't drown it in distractions. Instead, dissect it. Study it like an enemy general studies the battlefield after a crushing defeat. Find the exact moves that left you exposed. Because if you ignore this stage, you'll repeat the same patterns. You'll keep rebuilding the same fragile house, only for the storm to destroy it again. But if you confront it, if you stare it down with cold detachment, something changes inside you. You stop seeing yourself as a victim. You begin to see yourself as a strategist. And from this moment forward, every wound becomes fuel. Every betrayal becomes data. Every heartbreak becomes a weapon. The death of the naive self is not the end. It is only the beginning. Because once you strip away the lies, once you bury the weak version of yourself, you are left with raw material, clay waiting to be shaped, steel waiting to be forged. And in the next stage, we begin that forging. We begin building the ruthless strategist within you, brick by brick, principle by principle. This is not about becoming cruel. It's about becoming untouchable, unshakable, unbreakable. This is the foundation, the first step in your Machiavellian rebirth. So take a deep breath, feel the old self fading, and prepare, because the strategist is about to rise. Now that the naive self has died, you are standing in front of an empty forge. Cold steel, burning fire, hammer and anvil. This is where the strategist is made, not in comfort, not in safety, but in the deliberate reshaping of your mind. Because here is a harsh truth. The body follows the mind. The world reflects the mind. Your fate bends to the mind. If your thoughts are chaotic, your life will be chaos. If your emotions rule you, your enemies will rule you. If you cannot master your mind, you will forever be a servant in a world of predators. Machiavelli knew this. He wrote not for the weak-hearted, not for the sentimental, but for rulers who understood that the battlefield of life begins in the mind. And so must you. Your first weapon is not the sword. It is not strength, wealth, or influence. It is the ability to command your own thoughts. Think of your mind like a fortress. For most people, that fortress is crumbling, its gates wide open. Enemies, distractions, fears, old wounds walk in and out at will. No wonder they are broken. No wonder they are easily manipulated. But a strategist does not leave the gates unguarded. A strategist builds walls. A strategist studies the enemy, predicts the attack, and prepares. This is what mental control means. Not suppressing your thoughts, but commanding them. Not killing your emotions, but disciplining them. Not avoiding pain, but weaponizing it. Ask yourself, how often are your thoughts your own? How often do you move with intention instead of reacting to the chaos around you? Every time you let fear drive you, you surrender control. Every time you let anger explode, you give away power. Every time you chase validation, approval, or recognition, you place your self-worth in someone else's hands. That ends here. From now on, your mind becomes a weapon. Sharp, precise, unyielding. Here is the first discipline of mental weaponry: silence. Most people are addicted to noise. They wake up and immediately flood their mind with stimulation. Social media, endless chatter, meaningless distractions. But silence is where the strategist sharpens his blade. In silence, you learn to hear your own thoughts. In silence, you see the patterns of your desires, your fears, your weaknesses. And once you see them, you can control them. So practice this. Each day, carve out a time of silence. No phone, no music, no talking. Just you and your mind. At first, it will feel unbearable. You will itch for distraction, crave noise, search for escape. That is your weakness screaming. Do not give in. Sit with it. Command it. Until silence no longer feels like emptiness, but power. The second discipline of the strategist's mind: emotional control. Listen carefully. This is not about killing your emotions. It is about mastering them. Fear has energy. Anger has energy. Desire has energy. But the weak let those energies leak out in reckless bursts. The strong harness them. Like fire contained in a forge, emotions can melt steel, shape iron, and fuel creation. Think of fear. Most run from it, but the strategist studies it. Fear shows you where your weaknesses lie, where your blind spots are, where the enemy can strike. Think of anger. Most explode with it, destroying themselves in the process. But the strategist holds it, compresses it, and channels it into focus. The way a blade channels force into a single, lethal point. Think of desire. Most chase it blindly, burning themselves out. But the strategist learns to let desire pull him forward without letting it drag him into desperation. This is mastery, to feel deeply, but to command absolutely. Can you imagine what would happen if you achieved this level of control? If nothing could shake you? If insult slid off you? If betrayal sharpened you? If fear itself bowed before your will? This is the strategist's mind. Not easily swayed, not easily broken, cold but not empty, hard but not brittle. Here is your training. Each time an emotion rises, do not immediately react. Pause, count to 3. Breathe. Watch the emotion as though it belongs to someone else. In that pause, you reclaim control. In that pause, you stop being a slave. In that pause, you remind yourself, I am the strategist. I am the master of my mind. At first, this pause will feel forced, but over time, it becomes natural. And one day you will notice, nothing rattles you, nothing provokes you, nothing makes you bend. And that day you will know your mind has become your weapon. This is the essence of part 2, the forging of the mind. Because a strategist without mental control is like a king without walls, doomed to fall at the first siege. But with silence and emotional mastery, your mind becomes an unshakable fortress, a blade that never dulls, a weapon no enemy can touch. And once your mind is forged, we move to the next stage, learning how to project power outward. Not just protecting yourself, but bending the world to your will. That's where part 3 begins. You've buried the naive self. You've forged the mind into a weapon. Now comes the moment most people never reach, the outward projection of power. Because power is not just internal discipline. Power is how the world perceives you. And perception, my friend, is reality. It doesn't matter how strong you feel inside if others see weakness. It doesn't matter how sharp your mind is if your presence communicates hesitation. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. It is not enough to be powerful. You must appear powerful. Think of a lion. Even before it strikes, it commands respect. The way it moves, the way it carries itself, the way its gaze lingers. The gazelle doesn't wait to see if the lion is hungry. It already runs. That's the essence of projected power. You don't wait until conflict to establish dominance. You radiate it in every moment so that when the time comes, no one dares test you. So how do you project this? How do you move through the world in a way that demands respect without a single word? There are 3 principles: posture, voice, presence. Your body speaks before you do. A slouched back, darting eyes, nervous hands. They scream weakness. But straight shoulders, steady eye contact, deliberate movement, they command attention. Machiavelli would tell you, posture is politics. It signals whether you are prey or predator. So train yourself. Walk slower, never rushed. Keep your shoulders open, chest forward. Hold eye contact just a heartbeat longer than expected. Speak less with your hands, more with your silence. Every movement must communicate, I am in control. Your voice is a weapon. Most waste it by speaking too fast, too high, too much. But listen to those who command respect. They speak slowly, deliberately. They pause without fear. Their tone carries weight because they aren't desperate to fill silence. So here's your practice. Record yourself speaking. Listen to how you sound. Then train. Slow down, lower your tone, cut unnecessary words. When you speak less, every word carries more power. When you embrace silence, others lean in to listen. This is not just communication. It is psychological warfare. This is the most mysterious, but also the most vital. Presence is the energy you radiate when you walk into a room. It comes from 2 things: absolute self-control, absolute indifference to approval. When you no longer need others to validate you, they feel it. When you move as if the world will adjust to you, people unconsciously do just that. Presence cannot be faked. It is built in the silence of discipline and projected through every glance, every step, every pause. Think about this. Have you ever met someone who wasn't rich, wasn't famous, wasn't even physically imposing, and yet the moment they entered the room, everyone noticed? That was presence. That was projected power. That was the Machiavellian principle in action. And you can cultivate it. But here is the trap. Projecting power is not about arrogance. It's not about shouting, dominating conversations, or proving yourself. That reeks of desperation. True projection is subtle. A strategist never reveals all his strength. He allows others to sense it, like the shadow of a storm on the horizon. This is why Machiavelli warned, it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Why? Because fear is reliable. Respect rooted in fear does not waver. And when combined with controlled warmth, when you choose to show kindness sparingly, it becomes irresistible. Here's how to practice presence daily. Enter every room as if you belong there. No hesitation, no apology. Speak 30% less than you normally would. Let silence do the heavy lifting. Hold stillness. Resist the urge to fidget, tap, or rush. Stillness signals dominance. When you give attention, give it fully. When you withdraw it, withdraw completely. These small shifts create an aura that others cannot ignore. Understand this. You don't have to be the strongest, the smartest, or the richest, but if you control your posture, your voice, and your presence, you will be treated differently. Doors will open. People will hesitate before crossing you. Opportunities will flow to you, not because you beg for them, but because the world bends to those who project certainty. This is power without a sword, influence without force, dominance without a word. Now your mind is forged, your presence is projected, but there's a deeper battlefield still, the battlefield of relationships, alliances, and enemies. Because once you project power, others will test you. Some will seek your favor. Others will plot against you. And in part 4, we dive into Machiavelli's coldest lesson, how to play the game of loyalty and betrayal without losing yourself. Power attracts. And once you begin to project it, people will circle you. Some will come offering loyalty. Some will come with hidden knives. And here is the brutal reality. Every relationship you have, friend, lover, ally, even family, is part of a chessboard. Each person either strengthens your position or weakens it. Each move they make is either in your favor or against it. Machiavelli knew this. That's why he warned, trust is dangerous. Blind loyalty is suicide. Think back to the betrayals of your life. Who cut you the deepest? Was it not those who swore they would never hurt you? That's the paradox of loyalty. The ones closest to you hold the sharpest blades. And unless you understand this game, unless you study it like a strategist, you will always be outmaneuvered. People are not loyal because of who you are. They are loyal because of what you provide. Security status, advantage, fear. The moment those benefits fade, so does their loyalty. This is not cynicism, it is reality. So stop expecting eternal devotion. Stop clinging to promises. Instead ask, what binds this person to me? What need do I fulfill? If you understand that, you can predict when loyalty will hold and when it will break. No matter how careful you are, betrayal will come. It is not an accident. It is a law of human nature. People are fickle. Desires shift. Temptations grow. Fear changes alliances. Machiavelli did not say if betrayal comes. He assumed it, and so should you. This does not mean paranoia. It means preparation. Expect betrayal, and when it arrives, you are not broken. You are ready. The strategist does not give trust easily. He observes. He tests. He gives small responsibilities before entrusting large ones. Think of it like building a fortress. You don't hand the keys to the gates on the first day. You watch how a soldier guards the outer wall. You see how he reacts under pressure. Only then do you grant more access. This is how you prevent catastrophe, by turning trust into a series of trials, not a blind leap. And what about enemies? Because make no mistake, once you project strength, you will create them. Some silently envious, some openly hostile. Machiavelli was clear. It is far safer to be feared than to be loved. Why? Because love fades, but fear binds. If people fear the consequences of betraying you, they will think twice. If people know you can act decisively, they will hesitate to cross you. This does not mean cruelty for its own sake. It means making sure every betrayal carries a price. The strategist knows when to reveal his hand. When loyalty is shown, reward it where others can see. This magnifies its effect, inspiring further devotion. When betrayal is discovered, punish it, but strategically. Not with loud rage, but with cold precision. Sometimes that means removing someone silently. Sometimes it means exposing them as a warning. But it always means making the consequences clear. Because if betrayal goes unchecked, it multiplies. Think of history. Empires rose and fell, not because of outside threats, but because of betrayal within. Caesar, stabbed not by enemies, but by friends. Kings toppled, not by armies, but by their inner circles. Machiavelli studied this endlessly, and his conclusion was simple. The throne does not fall to enemies. It falls to misplaced trust. So what does this mean for you? It means looking at your life like a strategist, not a dreamer. Who in your circle strengthens you? Who weakens you? Who is aligned with your mission? Who is secretly waiting for their moment? Stop pretending everyone is the same. Stop expecting unconditional loyalty. Start seeing relationships as moving pieces on a board. And here's the key. You don't need to hate your betrayers. You don't even need to punish all of them. You simply need to outplay them. Because life is chess, not checkers. Every betrayal can be turned into leverage. Every disloyalty can teach you the next move. This is the game of loyalty and betrayal. It is brutal. It is cold. But it is reality. And if you master it, you cannot be surprised. You cannot be broken. And you cannot be dethroned. In the next stage, we go even deeper. Because once you control loyalty and betrayal, the game shifts to a higher level. The art of manipulation and influence. Bending others to your will without them even realizing it. That is the true Machiavellian edge. And that's where part 5 begins. We've talked about ruthlessly auditing your weaknesses, building discipline, and shifting your identity. But here is the truth Machiavelli never softened. Your enemies are not always out there. Sometimes they are inside your own mind. And if you cannot control your impulses, your emotions, your hunger for validation, then someone else will. This is where the dark psychology of Machiavelli becomes brutally useful. He wasn't concerned with morality. He was concerned with power, survival, and winning. And for you, that translates into mastering self-control while simultaneously making yourself resistant to manipulation. Think about how most people live. They're driven by craving. They react instantly to emotion. They chase comfort and approval without realizing they're predictable. Predictability is a weapon others can use against you. A boss knows if you're desperate for recognition, he can dangle compliments to keep you working late. A manipulative partner knows if you fear abandonment, they can use silence to control you. Machiavelli would say, if you cannot master yourself, you cannot lead yourself. So the first pillar is impulse control. You learn to pause, to delay reaction, to let the surge of anger, fear, or excitement pass before you move. Because every time you react instantly, you're handing someone else the blueprint to your behavior. One of Machiavelli's most misunderstood lessons is emotional detachment. Not the absence of feeling, but the discipline to act as if your feelings don't rule you. When a rival insults you, the average man snaps. He shouts, defends himself, proves he is offended. But the strategist knows. Silence cuts deeper than anger. Controlled coldness does two things. It unsettles the other person. They expect a reaction and don't get it. It preserves your energy for moves that actually matter. Machiavelli's princes didn't survive because they raged louder than their enemies. They survived because they were unpredictable, emotionally untouchable, and always 3 steps ahead. Now let's get darker. How do people try to control you? By using your own psychology against you. Here are 3 Machiavellian manipulation tactics you must learn to spot. Scarcity pressure. This is your only chance. You'll lose it if you don't act now. They make you believe urgency equals truth. Emotional leverage. Guilt, shame, flattery, or sympathy. All designed to pull a reaction instead of rational choice. Divide and conquer. They isolate you from allies, so you depend only on them. When you see these tactics, don't react emotionally. Call them out in your mind for what they are. Strategies. Once labeled, their power weakens. How do you defend yourself? Machiavelli would say, fortify your castle before the siege begins. This means, strengthen your self-worth so flattery doesn't sway you. Create options so no threat of scarcity can corner you. Build alliances so no one can isolate you. When you operate from abundance, not desperation, you become manipulation-proof. The person who cannot be bribed with validation, who does not fear loneliness, who does not rush into urgency, is dangerous. They are untouchable. Imagine this. You're in negotiation, and the other side lays out an offer. The average person feels the need to respond instantly. to fill the silence, to ease the discomfort. But Machiavellian silence is a weapon. By waiting, you force the other side to reveal more than they intended. They speak to kill the awkwardness, and in doing so, they expose their position. Silence is not weakness. It is a calculated trap. And the one who controls the rhythm of communication controls the outcome. One of the most powerful tools in resisting influence is turning it back. Machiavelli knew that people reveal themselves when they believe they're in control. Mirror their tactics, mirror their tone, and suddenly they feel comfortable. They underestimate you. They believe you are aligned with them. And when the time is right, you pivot. This isn't about cruelty. It's about refusing to be a victim of the games people play. Here is the Machiavellian paradox. The more you control yourself, the less others can control you. Your silence becomes louder than their shouting. Your patience becomes sharper than their urgency. Your calm becomes a weapon no storm can shake. This is not easy. It takes years of practice. But once you step into this level of self-command, you stop being the puppet. You become the unseen hand that moves the strings. So far, we've rebuilt your discipline, your identity, your vision, and your self-control. But there is still one more stage, because all of this strategy, all of this ruthless rebuilding means nothing if you don't know how to project it outward. In the final part, we will step into how to radiate power, influence without begging, and lead like someone who cannot be ignored. Stay with me, because this is where you stop surviving and start ruling. You've stripped yourself down. You've rebuilt discipline. You've reshaped your identity. You've mastered self-control. But Machiavelli would ask, what is the point of strength if it is never seen? Power hidden forever is no power at all. Influence is not just built, it must be projected. And the final stage of rebuilding yourself is learning how to radiate strength without needing to beg for recognition. Most people think influence comes from talking more, forcing respect, or demanding attention. That is weakness. Machiavelli knew the most powerful rulers rarely shouted. They radiated presence. They moved with patience. They spoke with purpose. They chose their words like weapons, sharp and rare. Presence begins with restraint. You enter a room and do not rush to speak. You watch. You measure. You let others reveal themselves while you reveal nothing. This aura of calm mystery creates gravity. People lean in, trying to decode you. The less you reveal, the more they imagine. And what they imagine is always more powerful than what you could have said. Machiavelli wrote, "Men judge more by the eye than by the hand." Translation: people believe what they see, not what is true. So your image must be cultivated like a weapon. How you dress, how you walk, how you hold silence. All of it signals whether you should be underestimated or respected. Every gesture either builds your legend or breaks it. This doesn't mean becoming fake. It means projecting your truth deliberately. If you've built resilience, project it in your posture. If you've mastered silence, project it in your calm eyes. If you've sharpened your vision, project it in the certainty of your words. Weak people chase recognition. Strong people command it. The Machiavellian method: never ask for respect. Make it impossible to withhold. Deliver results silently. Let your actions speak louder than your pleas. Hold boundaries so firm that people feel your strength even in your absence. Speak less, but when you do, make it final. You do not need everyone to love you. You only need them to understand that ignoring you comes with a cost. Machiavelli's famous dilemma: is it better to be feared or loved? He answered, if you must choose, be feared, because fear lasts longer than love. But here's the nuance. You don't need cruelty. You need controlled fear, the unspoken awareness that you cannot be taken lightly. When combined with respect, this becomes admiration. People admire what they also fear losing. They admire what they cannot control. So project both: compassion when it suits you, coldness when it protects you. This balance creates an aura no one dares to challenge. Machiavelli understood life as theater. Everyone wears a mask, everyone plays a role. The difference is, most people are actors. The strategist is the director. When you rebuild yourself, you step into this role. You set the stage. You control the rhythm. You decide which parts of yourself to reveal, which to hide, and when to make your entrance. Power is not just who you are. It is the performance of who you are. And if you do not direct your own role, someone else will cast you as theirs. The ultimate goal is not just to survive hardships. It's not even just to win against enemies. The final Machiavellian goal is legacy, to rebuild yourself so ruthlessly, so strategically, that your influence remains even when you are absent. Legacy is not written in speeches, it's written in the stories people whisper about you, in the respect that continues long after you've left the room, in the opportunities that come because your name carries weight. You are not just surviving anymore. You are shaping the battlefield for generations of your own life to come. Let's step back. You began broken. You began unsure, desperate, reactive. You went through the fire of discipline. You shed weakness. You built vision. You mastered silence. You became untouchable to manipulation. And now you project power like a shadow, unspoken, undeniable. This is the Machiavellian way of rebuilding yourself. From victim to strategist, from broken to unbreakable, from ignored to unforgettable. Remember this, you don't need to ask for respect. You don't need to prove your worth. You need only to rebuild yourself like a ruthless strategist, brick by brick, move by move, until the world has no choice but to recognize what you have become. This is not about being cruel. It's about being prepared. It's about rising in a world that would rather see you on your knees. So carry yourself like the strategist you are becoming. Control yourself. Command presence. Project power. And let the world learn. You may have been broken once, but now you are rebuilt. And this time, you are unshakable.